As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 130. This is the first episode of 2021. Happy New Year. I hope you had a great holiday season. If you're hearing my voice right now, congratulations. You fucking survived 2020. So for the first episode of the new year, I thought we'd talk about a little known classic and possibly the only franchise I like more than Mario in gaming. And that, my friends, is one of the industry's all-time greats, arguably the GOAT of video games, period, motherfucking Tetris. And I know I used the NES box art for the cover, for the image, but this episode is not just about that iteration. We're going to talk Tetris of all shapes and all sizes. Former Remember the Game Hall of Famer and the straight line to my gaping Tetris hole, Mark McCue, is my guest this week. And that might be the worst intro that I've ever given anyone. That's like, we may have just bottomed out the fucking show 2 minutes into the year anyway. Fucking gross. But anyway, Mark gave me a call and we had a nice long talk about Tetris. And I wasn't sure this episode would be any good when we agreed to record it, because I was thinking, like, Tetris, that might be a little dry, but I think it turned out pretty good. You hot dogs came out in force with your comments and your praise of Tetris as a whole, of the game. I guess I'm not the only one out there that really, really likes Tetris. So you folks will be the jury, I guess. Hopefully you don't hate this. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you do not, send me some hate mail and let me know. And speaking of sending me hate mail, baby, it is time for the Remember the Game infamous intro. And never forget, as always, there are timestamps in the description of this podcast telling you where to skip to. So if you're only here for Tetris Talk, or for Play One, Remake One, Erase One, or if you're some fucking weirdo who only wants to hear what I've been playing over the last 7 days or whatever, look in the description box. There are timestamps telling you when to skip to. I cannot stress that enough, okay? All kinds of stuff here. I got lots to get to this week, including the winners of the prizes that I gave away for my charity stream, my 24-hour stream I did last month. So this intro is worth listening to. I mean, like, they're all worth listening to, but this one is bonus worth listening to. And we're going to start it off. I posted a blog over at rememberthegamepodcast.com, our official website. Where I say official like there's a fucking parody website of it out there. It's the only Remember the Game website. But I posted a blog over there, which you can check out at your leisure the next time you're sitting on the toilet or something and you need a minute or so. You need to kill like a minute, go flip by and give it a quick read. I break down some podcast stats from 2020. I lay out my goals for 2021. And if you have not read it yet, man, 2020 was fucking wild. Like beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The show grew like a fucking weed, and we are that. We're like Retro Gaming Gardens weed. Like in the community where you've got like Retronauts and all those big fancy shows over there, and they're like the roses and the tulips and all that shit. We are the fucking weed that you just can't kill. I like that. That's us. So thank you all so much for listening to Remember the Game over the last year. And if you just came on board, then thank you for listening. Hopefully you stick around for the future. And also, thank you to everyone that has listened to Game Patch. It is my weekly modern gaming news podcast where I do what I do here, and I swear, and I struggle to form complete sentences, but I do it while talking PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo instead of old video games. So you can find Game Patch wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes go live every Monday morning, or here it comes, sign up for our Patreon, and you'll get it 3 days early. And I gotta be honest, I'm running out of original ways to plug this Patreon, but I have to keep plugging it, you guys. Like, it's the reason that you listening to this right now have at least 130 retro game podcasts waiting for you that are 99.7% ad-free, not locked behind a paywall or anything, is 100% because of that Patreon. So if you've been on the fence, if you've been like, I do like his stuff, I just can't be bothered to go sign up, I feel the same way about a lot of podcasts too. Take the 90 seconds to sign up, please. It's like 90 seconds. I'm not IGN, Kind of Funny, Last Stand, Retronauts. I'm not one of these giant fucking podcast empires. I'm just a dumbass in his spare bedroom yelling into a microphone 3 times a week. So it really, really makes a huge difference. And if you sign up over on Patreon, you will get access to Game Patch every Friday morning, instead of waiting until Monday like a chump. Like one of the things I do on Game Patch is I give you sale recommendations. And if you listen to it on Friday morning, then I tell you what you can pick up this weekend to play on sale, instead of waiting until Monday and then realizing, oh, I could have picked that up to play that this weekend. It only makes sense, right? So it's like, yeah, fuck yeah. It only costs $2 a month, and you get a ton of other stuff as well. You get access to our Patreon exclusive gaming podcast, Expansion Pass. New episodes of that go live every Sunday. You get every old episode of it day one as well, just right there to download onto your phone. There's over 50 of them now. Game reviews, ranking lists, discussions about gaming history, all kinds of fun stuff. The recent top 20 NES games, the episode that I put on the feed a couple weeks ago, is an episode of Expansion Pass that I just gave up for free as like a Christmas gift. So that's what you're getting. Last weekend for Expansion Pass, we made our New Year's gaming resolutions. This weekend, this Sunday, it is the Blankies. A lot of you have been asking what my game of the year was for 2020, and I will be revealing it at our first annual awards show, The Blankies. I will be naming my PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and overall game of the year, along with some honorable mentions. We have polls running right now to decide what the listener picks are for games on all those systems for game of the year. You can check out my social media for all those, or check any of my social media. You'll find the link to go vote in our poll. It's completely free, takes 30 seconds. You don't have to sign up for a fucking thing. You just click, 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 and you're done. It's awesome. It says the average time it's taking people is like 42 seconds or something. And then in addition to all those, I gotta get back to plugging the Patreon. In addition to all those extra podcasts, all those early podcasts that you get for just $2, you can also help pick the games we cover here on the show. You can submit comments to be read on every single one of my podcasts. You get access to our Discord, which is really, really fun. There's a whole bunch of people over there making fun of me mostly. And most importantly, God damn it, you can support me and you can support Remember the Game Industries. And almost 160 of you are doing that now, including all of our newest Patreons. And I'm going to fuck up a couple of these names, no doubt in my mind. But our newest Patreons are Kelly, Francesco Sabidi, Derek Jane, Mark Carls, Parzival, and Mike Cummings. I'm 100% sure I fucked most of those names up. But thank you all so much. Welcome to Remember the Game Industries. So sign up, $2, extra podcasts, vote, send in comments, and help keep us on the air. It may not seem like much, but you guys, I'm a stand-up comedian during a pandemic. This is my job now. It makes such a huge difference. And I mentioned you guys get to pick the games that we cover here on the show. Our Patreon poll for January is running right now. It runs until January 9th. And as I'm looking at it on my screen right now, one vote separates the three top games right now, which are Golden Sun for the Game Boy Advance, Final Fantasy VIII for the PS1, and Final Fantasy Tactics for the PS1. The winner gets an episode of Remember the Game, and one vote separates them. So votes fucking... Don't be one of those people that's like, my vote doesn't matter anyway, because yeah, you're probably right. In a lot of cases, your vote doesn't matter. In this case, it really does fucking matter. So, whew. There's my plug. Oh, yeah. And I have a P.O. box as well. You can find the full address on our website. Again, rememberthegamepodcast.com, but it's P.O. Box 69181, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, T6V1G7. Just send me a postcard or a letter or something. I'll send you Remember the Game one back. We'll be friends. Dude, Tapio in Finland, if you're listening, I can't figure out your shipping address. I really want to send you back something, so get a hold of me, please. That'd be awesome. And then finally, as I always plug, and then I'll be done with the plugs. I stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday nights from 8 to 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Look for Member the Game on Twitch, not Remember. Member the Game over on twitch.tv. New people are coming by all the time. We have 25 or 30 people that are always, at any given point, usually that's how many people are hanging around, just mostly making fun of me. That's primarily what it is me telling the chat to go fuck itself because the chat's making fun of my horrible gameplay. It's really fun. We do Tetris Tuesday every Tuesday night where I get high and play Tetris 99, Throwback Thursday where I play something retro, and then Sports Sunday where I play a sports game and everyone chirps me for sucking, and it's really, really fun. And on the note of Twitch, a couple weeks ago, I did my 24-hour charity stream with Extra Life to raise money for the Stollery Children's Hospital here in Edmonton. You guys probably know about that by now. Thank you to everyone that came by and or donated. My goal was $1,000. We raised over $4,000, which was fucking sick. And I have some prizes to give away. I had been mentioning it during the stream, but someone won a copy of whatever game they wanted, and someone won a chance to come on the show. Anyone that donated over $20 was in the draw. If you go to youtube.com/rememberthegame, you can see the draw videos there. But quick spoilers, so skip ahead 15 seconds if you don't want to hear who won. Huge congratulations to James Clark, who won a copy of the game of his choice and has selected Mario 3D All-Stars for the Nintendo Switch, so I'll be sending him a copy of that. And Ben Bulliu, who won the opportunity to pick a game for Remember the Game, and then be my guest to talk about the game should he prefer to do so. And of course, that would go to someone whose name I can't pronounce. But congratulations to both of you guys. Thank you to everyone that donated. That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow into some cartridges. It is the official opening segment of the show. I read a few comments and questions from our Patreons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge. And I can't always read all of them, but I read as many as I can. I try to rotate in and out who gets on the show. So if you didn't get on this week, keep trying. Thank you for the messages. I promise you'll get on sooner than later. I need a quick drink of water here, and then we'll get into this. The good podcasts probably edit out the drinking of the water, but this is Remember the fucking Game, baby. All right, let's get into blowing in the cartridge. Our first blower of 2021 is Amy Gillen. Amy wrote in who said, "Hey Adam, I had a random thought. I know you're not the biggest movie guy, but I just wanted to know your thoughts on the new Monster Hunter movie with Mila Jovovich. I don't know how to say that name, but you know who I'm talking. Anyway, I enjoy the Resident Evil movies. I know they were a bit meh on the storylines, but I liked them for the trashy popcorn movies that they were. Anyways, keep your awesome video game content coming, my dude." Happy New Year, Amy. I gotta be honest with you, my friend. I don't know a fucking thing about Monster Hunter, the video games or the movies. And you're also correct. I don't know much about movies, period. But both of those things said, I actually did watch the first few Resident Evil movies because I like Resident Evil, and I actually liked the first Resident Evil movie quite a bit. And I thought the second one was the one where they were in the city with Nemesis, and I actually thought the second one was okay as well. They did kind of lose me after that, and then I checked out. But I thought, fucking, what's her name? Mila, I don't know how to say her name. The main actress from the Resident Evil movies that's going to be in Monster Hunter. I think she's fucking awesome. Like, I buy that she's a badass. I'm a fan of hers. So, like, I'm not going to lie to you. My first trip back to a movie theater probably is not going to be to see Monster Hunter. But if it ends up on like one of the 400 streaming services that we're fucking subscribed to in this house, I will probably give it a browse just because I like her as an actress. So, yeah, fucking right. Thank you for writing in, Amy. Happy New Year. Henri SJA Flash wrote in and said, because I have nothing else to say, I'm going to continue the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles debate as I continue to fiercely defend Raphael. And a quick note from me before I get back to Henri's comments here. We had quite the debate going in the Discord the other day about the Ninja Turtles and who the predominant Ninja Turtle is and blah, blah, blah. So that's what he's referencing here. Back to his comments. Raphael has always been my favorite. When I was a kid, it was purely because he wore the red mask, because that was my favorite color, and I've been Team Raph ever since. He's not arguably the best fighter. He just is, goddammit. I understand the potential greatness of Michelangelo, but we can just let that go because potential talent gets you nowhere if you don't apply yourself. Every family needs a voice that isn't afraid to say the shit nobody wants to say. The Turtles always seem to be painfully lacking in combat without Raph. I will die on this damn hill. I know I'm outnumbered and remember the game industries, but I don't care. I'm a loner just like Raph. He loves his brothers and he will give everything for them. All right. Now, it's been a couple weeks since we talked Ninja Turtles on here, so we got to do this. And if you're newer to Remember the Game Industries, I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles super fan. Literally, my left arm is a tattoo sleeve of the Ninja Turtles. So I'm a big Turtles fan, and Donatello has been my guy ever since I was a kid. Raphael has always been my least favorite turtle. Now, having said that, I've got him tattooed on my body. I'm looking at him right now. I like him. I like all the turtles. And as I get older, he's actually the one I can relate to the most because I also dislike a lot of people and I get angry all the time. But to use a sports metaphor, Raphael is a fucking locker room cancer, okay? You're correct, Flash. It has been proven Michelangelo has the most raw talent and potential of the team, but Raphael is the tank, and he's the tough guy, and he's probably the most valuable turtle of the team in a fight. All that said, the fights that he helps the Turtles win are often caused by the team having to rescue Raphael from the Foot Soldiers and the Foot Clan after he has a hissy fit and storms off and gets caught in the first place. So they wouldn't have to fight if he wasn't acting like a fucking asshole. So I respect that he says what he thinks. I love the New York accent he's got. He's a badass. I'm on board with all of that. But imagine how valuable Raphael would be to the team if Donatello invented a chill pill to keep him from acting like a fucking asshole all the time. That's why Raphael, he's too big a dick. Too big of dick for my liking. But thank you for, I could talk Turtles for an hour. Makeshift Money wrote in and said, at Games, makers of the horrible quality Sega mini consoles are now making virtual pinball cabinets, and be damned if they don't actually look that bad. If there were more licensed tables available for download and at Games didn't have such a shitty track record, I would take a pretty hard look at it. They look really cool. So if you don't know what Makeshift is talking about, before the official awesome Sega Genesis mini released in 2019? Yeah. At Games released a different Genesis Mini, and it was fucking horrific. It was like, it was Echo the Dolphin quality. It was, frankly, At Games, the developers have a fucking horrible reputation. So I really like the idea of a virtual pinball machine and being able to download more boards and all that shit. That's great. But you nailed it, Makeshift. I won't give those motherfuckers the time of day anymore. You've burned us too many times. Release this thing, let it get great reviews, let everyone else take a chance on your product, and if it doesn't suck, then maybe I'll give you my good eyes attention. But At Games has burned way too many fucking people in the past. So fuck them. It is a dope concept though, man. I would love a real pinball machine. Like have you seen the new Ninja Turtles? We're going back to Ninja Turtles. Those new Ninja Turtles ones they made are so sick. God. But anyway, no, At Games can fuck a cactus. I can't stand those pieces of shit. Gary C. wrote in and said, up until recently, the newest consoles in my collection were my PlayStation 3, my Xbox 360, both of which I love dearly. However, in November, I happened to spot a PlayStation 4 Pro for sale and decided I would jump into what, for me, is the next gen. And wow, I've been blown away by the step up from the previous generation. I'm currently playing through Horizon Zero Dawn, which is awesome. I have a ton of others I can't wait to fire up. And it got me thinking about the immense back catalog of games that are out there and the diverse nature of our community. I mean, some of us keep bang up to date with current tech. Others are going back in time to sample the classics, and there's this giant wedge of generations in between, which offer unbelievable value for their money. I have no doubt the real next-gen consoles bring some phenomenal experiences with them, but it's reassuring to know that the hobby we all love caters to every one of us. Oh, and if you've got any PlayStation 4 recommendations, let me know. I'm off to hunt a sawtooth. Fucking right, Scary. I love this. I did this with the PlayStation 3. I adopted it right near the end of its life cycle, and I was in fucking heaven catching up with the exclusives that I missed out on. So if you're new to the PlayStation 4 and the PS4, Xbox One generation, my man, you're covered until fucking 2023 if you want to be. You have so much to play. As far as my PS4 recommendations go, you said you have Horizon Zero Dawn covered. I would have absolutely recommended that. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a fucking gem, particularly if you played the first Final Fantasy VII. Ghost of Tsushima, I just finished it. Fucking loved it. I haven't played God of War, but I'm going to put my weight behind it and recommend it anyway because there's not a bad review of that game fucking anywhere. Infamous Second Son is great, and it was an early PlayStation 4 title, so it gets forgotten about, and you could probably get it for like $3 somewhere. Fucking Spider-Man, gotta play Spider-Man. Red Dead Redemption 2 is out there. Like, that alone is a fucking year of gaming. I mean, Jesus God, there's so many games. Those are the cream of the crop, in my opinion. I'm sure there are people yelling more games into their phones and their radios right now. But those are some of my favorites. Enjoy your PS4, my man. You are in for a fucking treat. And then finally, before we move on to Play One, Remake One, Erase One, I know this has been a long intro, but I don't care. I'm having a good time. It is letter time. So it's letter time. It's letter time. And this week's letter comes in from one of our newest Patreons, Parzival. Hope I'm saying that right. And Parzival said, Adam, have you read or audibled I fucked all this up here. Adam, have you read or audibled Ready Player One's novel or at least watched the movie? What are your thoughts? That book honestly brought me out of my shell as far as my outright, unabashful 80s, 90s retro gaming pop culture embrace. Fuck yeah. So obviously, Ready Player One was an inspiration for your name, Parzival, and if you are wondering why I can't pronounce your name properly, I have not seen the movie or listened to the audiobook, so I don't know how it's technically pronounced. But it's funny you bring it up. I literally finished reading this book last night. Just finished it. And you guys, if you like retro gaming, pop culture stuff mixed in with some sci-fi, cannot recommend this book enough. It's not like a literary classic. It's not one of the best well-written all-time great novels, of our generation or anything, but it's really good. Last year, I read The Stand by Stephen King, and I said it might be my new favorite book of all time. And I like to read. It's something I'll talk about often, but I probably polish off 25 or 30 books a year. I would do more, but I just don't have time, but I love to read. And last year, I read The Stand by Stephen King, and I said it might be my new favorite book of all time. Ready Player One doesn't take that title, but it is the best book I've read since The Stand. I fucking love it. I love it. So now I really want to see the movie, and I want to read Ready Player 2 now and see what the hype is about that. So if you don't know anything about Ready Player One, quick synopsis. It's set in like the 2040s, I think, 2040s or 2050s. And the entire planet's in pretty rough shape, but there's a virtual reality world called the Oasis exists, which kind of blends in with the real world. Everyone goes there. People shop in there, go to school in there. There's tons of references to retro gaming and pop culture in this virtual world. And the creator of the Oasis has died and has hidden his billions and billions and billions of dollars of fortune somewhere in this virtual world, and people are trying to find it. And there's good people, there's giant evil corporations, they're all battling with each other trying to find this money. Cannot recommend this book enough. So welcome aboard, Parzival. Great timing on your question. 2 weeks ago, I would have had no idea what this was all about, but now I know, and it's fucking awesome. And that is going to do it for Blowing in the Cartridge this week. Thank you for all the messages, and let's get into our smash hit segment. Play One, Remake One, Erase One. And a huge thank you, as always, to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. You guys know it by now. Each week, I give our listeners 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released. They can remake one as a modern game however they want. And the third game is erased from time forever. And this week, I figured we're talking Tetris, which is an all-time great and a high-score-centric game. So we're doing a high-score edition of the show. And our contenders this week are Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and Galaga. And I know they've all been remade a million times, but humor me, you can remake one again however you want. As always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a correct one. I'll tell you what that is in a minute. And thank you, as always, to everyone that played. We get so many messages about this segment every week. It's awesome. I can't possibly read everyone's, but I'm going to read a bunch of them. So let's fucking play. And we're going to start with Alan C. this week, who wrote in and said, definitely a tough call, but I'm going to say play Pac-Man, remake Galaga, erase Donkey Kong. As long as we still get the Donkey Kong Country games, all will be right in the universe. So right away, and thank you for writing in, Alan. Right away, the whole if I erase this game, does the future versions of this game still happen predicament comes into play. Because I can get on board with this, Alan, and your order as long as Donkey Kong Country still exists. I can also live with dumping Donkey Kong in exchange for Donkey Kong Country. But if dumping Donkey Kong costs us Donkey Kong Country, then I don't know. So that's it. And there is no definitive answer to that. That's all up to the listeners to decide. So Corey wrote in and said, play Galaga. It's fun even still today, and I love the graphics and that little spaceship you control, so I wouldn't want to change anything. Remaster Pac-Man. Some of the newer Pac-Man games are pretty fun, so I'd like to see more of that. You could do what I'm sure has been suggested already, a Pac-Man 99. Maybe every time you beat a level, it could add ghosts to an opponent's game or something like that. And then erase Donkey Kong. I know this might seem like blasphemy to some, but I think this game is kind of shit. It plays so slowly, and it's not even fun to look at like Pac-Man or Galaga. I think the other two games here have aged better, and Donkey Kong has moved on to greener pastures. So, dude, Corey, I gotta be honest. I didn't even think of Pac-Man 99 in the same route as a Tetris 99, a Super Mario 35. And I don't know if anyone else suggested it. I'll see as I keep reading these, but I've never been closer to changing my order because of someone else's remake suggestion than I am right now. Because I set my play, remake, erase order before I read yours so that I don't get influenced and I know what mine's going to be. But dude, the idea of Pac-Man 99 is fucking, oh, I want that so bad. I would pay $80 to play Pac-Man 99. Whew, that's good stuff. Mercury869 wrote in and said, I think I'll be the only one going against the grain here, which I'm totally okay with. I would keep Donkey Kong as it is. It's my earliest gaming memory, playing on an Atari 5200. I can't even remember how we had one of these. I just remember at a very young age trying to rescue a princess from an ape. I would remake Galaga. This is where I'm against the grain, and I believe that this game could be remade into something fantastic. Take this game out of its 2D roots and put it into a 3D space, something like Ace Combat, but give it a Persona 5 or full-on Japanese anime look, and I think this game would be a fucking hit. And then remove Pac-Man. This decision is so hard. Pac-Man is such a nostalgic feeling for me. Sitting at the Italian bar in downtown Edmonton as a kid, eating ice cream and feeding quarters into a table machine of Pac-Man will always be a great memory, but I just don't see a way to remaster it in any successful way. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, Mercury. And all of you, when I came up with my play, erase, remake order, I never even thought of remaking Galaga into anything 3D. I just thought about a fancier looking 2D shooter. That could actually be a lot of fun. I like Galaga a lot, the original Galaga, but yeah, you could give it the Star Fox treatment and just, you guys are getting me thinking here. Fuck. Freddie Bolvenkirk wrote in and said, dude, what the fuck? Don't touch any of them. Seriously. There's always one. There's always one that just, I touch that nerve. I love it. I fucking love it. And I almost agree with you, Freddie. I don't want to fuck with any of these games either. So that's the rule. That's what you got to do. So while I respect your respect of these games, I don't respect your disrespect of my game, of play one, remake one, erase one. You're disqualified. I'm sorry. And Raging Demon actually replied to Freddie and agreed with him and said, quote, I'd like to see Adam put his beloved Mario's balls on the block more often. End quote. Mario fucking Demon should only be in play one, play one, play one. We're not erasing Mario. Made me laugh, Freddie. Good job. Very cool dude wrote in, I would play Pac-Man. It's a pretty good game if you've never heard of it. I'd remake Galaga. Never really liked it, so give it a chance. And then you can delete Donkey Kong. Just play New Donk City and Mario Odyssey instead. Now listen, very cool dude. I have mad love for New Donk City and Mario Odyssey. Mad love. But I cannot erase Donkey Kong just to play New Donk City. I can't do it. But you nailed it. Very cool, dude. Pac-Man is a very good game for those of you that haven't heard of it. I liked that. When you're like, if you've never heard of Pac-Man, it's pretty good. Yeah, you're right. It's not bad. Maybe a few people have heard of it. We got to do an episode of Remember the Game. I actually would like to do an episode of the show about all three of these games eventually, especially Pac-Man. James Anderson wrote in and said, remake Donkey Kong, make it not so hard. Keep Pac-Man. It's a classic as it is. Erase Galaga because it's always been kind of meh. James, I kind of agree. See, I love all three of these video games. I really sincerely do. But yeah, James isn't Galaga is kind of meh compared to the other two, isn't it? It's not bad. It's not bad at all. But yeah, just it's kind of meh. I get it, James. I get it. A couple more, and then we'll move on here. Chris Knife 007, play Pac-Man, remake Galaga, erase Monkey Kong. Now listen, Chris Knife 007, because I love your handle so much. I love that fucking username. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you just mistyped Monkey Kong instead of blatantly disrespecting the iconic Donkey Kong and spelling his name wrong. So I'm going to let that slide because your handle is so good. And I gotta be honest too, I'm shocked how many people want to remake Galaga. I really thought it would be the Echo the Dolphin of the family here and everyone would be like, no, fuck it. But a lot of you want to remake Galaga. It's very interesting. It surprises me. Okay. Stupid Monkey. This is an easy one. Play Pac-Man or preferably Miss Pac-Man. Remake Donkey Kong. Have Mario and Donkey Kong and upgraded graphics duking it out for the girl. Erase Galaga. Could never get into it. Its best legacy is the throwaway line in the Avengers. So this is bugging me. I'm no Stupid Monkey. I'm no movie buff, but I don't remember the throwaway line in the Avengers. So send it to me text me what it is or message me or something because I don't remember what it is. Although admittedly, this is kind of how I expected more of you to treat Galaga, just throwing it away. I kind of thought that. And of course, someone with the username Stupid Monkey is not going to erase Donkey Kong. But you're all wrong. Every single one of you I just read were wrong. 2 of you were right this week. Evan Refuse wrote in and said, I think it'd be cool to see a modern Mario platformer where Donkey Kong is the villain, so remake that. Galaga kind of holds up as a concept, but there's not much to add other than modern graphics, so just play it. And then delete Pac-Man. The franchise eventually gave us Pac-Man Fever on the GameCube, a terrible Mario Party clone, which my parents decided to get us instead of the real deal. I will never forgive this transgression. Evan, I love it. This is so pure. Like, what a great reason to get rid of a game. Eventually, this great game gave us a spin-off that sucks. My parents got me that, and I'll never forgive Pac-Man for it. That is among the best erase one reasoning in the history of this show. So well done, Evan. And then Luca wrote in and said, first off, none of these games need a remake, but I have to follow the rules. You're fucking right, you do, Luca. He said, play Galaga. It's perfect how it is. If you want more modern takes on scrolling arcade shooters, there's a million options. Remake Donkey Kong, a great game that has never had much for spiritual successors. As someone else mentioned, a modern remake where you play as Mario and Donkey Kong as the villain, or maybe a 1v1 competitive multiplayer take might be a lot of fun. And then delete Pac-Man because Miss Pac-Man is better in every way. So I agree with 90% of what Lucas said. Galaga is perfect as it is. Miss Pac-Man is better than regular Pac-Man, and remaking Donkey Kong has so much potential. So that is also the order that I would take. I would play Galaga, because I don't know if I've ever actually talked about it on the show here, but like when I was a kid, I used to play with my mom when I was little, and it was like one of the only games I actually got to play with my mom, and I really sucked at it, but I just really loved playing it with her. And like to this day, rocking those the dual ships, that's my fucking jam. Like I have a very soft spot in my heart for Galaga, so I would just play it as it is. I'd remake Donkey Kong, but not like anyone else has suggested it. I would make it like Donkey Kong Country and make it like a prequel and let you control Cranky, because the general understanding, as I understand it, is that Cranky Kong in the Donkey Kong Country games is the Donkey Kong from the original Donkey Kong game. So instead of controlling Mario, I want a game where you control Cranky before he's old and cranky in the Donkey Kong Country mold. I would play the fuck out of that. I cannot take the chance that erasing the original Donkey Kong erases the Donkey Kong Country games. I can't do it. So then I would very reluctantly erase Pac-Man for 2 reasons. 1, as has been said, Miss Pac-Man is better in every way. And 2, if erasing Pac-Man erases Miss Pac-Man, that's easier for me to swallow than it would be to erase Donkey Kong Country or my memories of Galaga. So I love Pac-Man. I don't want to erase him. I'm just playing by the shitty rules that I invented for this stupid game. So that's my answer. Thank you for all that played. I'm sorry I couldn't read all of them on here. I really do try. Keep playing. I try to rotate who gets in and out every week. All right, and that'll do it. What have I been playing? And then we'll talk about some Tetris. I literally just finished Ghost of Tsushima last night. About 12 hours ago from what I'm talking to you guys right now. And I probably have about 80% of the game done, like the map. There's tons of like little collectibles and little side missions and stuff to find. I got about 80% of that done, and I know I should probably just move on and play another game. I got a huge backlog of stuff I want to play, but like I kind of want to clean up that map, even if it is just boring collectibles and stuff, because the game is just that much fun, and I'm not ready to move on yet. I really, really like that game. I'm still playing Gears Tactics as well because it's fucking awesome on my Xbox. I actually think I might want a Gears Tactics 2 more than a Gears of War 6. Like, I want both because I love the Gears of War franchise, but I think I might actually prefer Gears Tactics 2 to Gears of War 6. Really digging it. And then I'm still plugging away at 100%ing Tetris Effect on my Xbox, and I played a little bit of Crash Team Racing while it was free on the Switch, and I liked it so much that I bought it, but I bought it on my Xbox Series X. But I haven't fired it back up yet, but I am going to get into it soon. I like that a lot, though. And that's it. That's what I've been playing. This is a long enough intro. Let's get into Tetris talk. I like to give you nerds a chance to share your thoughts on the games we're talking about before my guest and I indulge ourselves and ramble. We got way more comments than I expected for Tetris. Way more. And I want to start. Geek Life Radio wrote in and said, fuck Tetris. Okay, like not really. Some may already know this, but my biggest nerd claim to fame was making it to the semifinals in the Nintendo Championships way back in 1990. I played the famous cart where you do one lap in Rad Racer, gain 100 coins in Mario, and then play Tetris. And the strategy is to get through the first two as fast as possible, then rack up all your points in Tetris. I had never played this game prior to the competition and still just missed the finals by a small amount. I never went back to it because I'm a sore loser. So Tetris fucking farted. And he says, I'm making this my tagline for games that I'm mad at. So I really like that story, Geek Life. I like that. Aside from Geek Life though, you guys, so many positive comments about Tetris. It's just one of those games that's almost impossible to hate unless it screws you out of a world championship. Then it's understandable. I literally stream Tetris 99 every Tuesday. I fucking love it. I can't stop playing it. I love Tetris. I'm just going to rocket through these comments. Just listen to these. We usually get 2, 3, maybe 4 comments from people. But like, we got so many comments here. Morgan says, I thought I was an absolute champ at this game for the majority of my life until Tetris 99 came along. So hard, and it is very hard. Keeg779988 said, it's Tetris. Enough said. Agreed. Ryan Bayshore wrote in and said, Tetris is a mainstay of mine. It's my go-to pick up and play title. Played many of the variations over the year, including the iconic to me Tetris 99, but my all-time fave is still the NES version. Doug Dorn wrote in and said, I never owned Tetris on any console or handheld, but I remember my dad got the Tetris Game & Watch for my mom one Christmas, and I used to sneak a game in here and there whenever I was home alone. Never any good at it, but no gamer's resume is complete without some time with the OG puzzle game. Scott Brooks wrote in and said, this was actually the first game I played on the NES. Before I ever laid eyes on that plumber, this game was my jam. I love everything about this game, and I still do to this day. Despite being hot garbage at Tetris 99, I still play it regularly, if only to hop on there and pump up other players' stats. They could release a new iteration of this game annually like EA Sports games, and I would snatch it up in a heartbeat. A true GOAT. I fucking agree with you, Scott. I would also buy a Tetris 99 every year. Alan C. wrote in and said, I played the hell out of this when I got it with my Game Boy as a kid, and I still play it all the time, thanks to Tetris 99 and Tetris Effect. The greatest game then and now? I think so. I kind of agree with you, Alan. Raging Demon said, I remember being a Sega kid, and every time I saw Columns, thinking how much better Tetris was. It still is. Columns is actually on my Genesis Mini, and it's one of those games that I gotta fire up soon just to see how bad it sucks, or if it sucks. And then finally, this is what I wanted to end this whole Tetris circle jerk on. Amy Gillen wrote in and said, a big Tony Soprano. Oh, for this one, Adam. Fucking Tony Soprano shout out. Love it. Absolutely a classic, and it's got to be tailgating your Mario 10 out of 10 score. I'm actually playing Tetris Effect on your recommendation right now, and it's epic. I'm so looking forward to your review on this one. And Amy, that's such a great way to end this, because that was a very big predicament I ran into. For all of you that don't know, we score every game at the end of the episodes, and the only game that's ever gotten a perfect score on this show is Super Mario World from episode 1. And when we got around to scoring Tetris, I was very torn on what to do. And what did I do? You're going to have to listen to the episode to find out. Let's do that right now. I'm going to cue up that music. That iconic Tetris music. And my buddy and fellow comedian and former Remember the Game Hall of Famer Mark McCue and I had a nice long chat about Tetris. I'm going to let y'all listen to it right now. I forgot to look up the date that Tetris first came out. Fuck. I don't want to edit my note. It came out, you guys know, it came out like fucking 80 years ago. We're talking Tetris. Let's go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit betterhelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. Okay, so quick disclaimer, I have no idea how this episode is going to go, because in theory, this might be the most boring video game we could possibly try to have a conversation about, but it's also probably my all-time favorite video game that's not a Mario title, and I would even put it ahead of Mario depending on my mood. Joining me via the telephone this week, the bat phone, whatever it is we've decided to call it, longtime friend of the show, longtime guest, pal of mine, former Hall of Famer, my buddy Mark McCue. How's it hanging, buddy?
It's going good. I'd agree that there's definitely not much story to this game.
Buddy.
It's a very basic puzzle game, but the history behind this game, oh my God.
Because Mark, just to get you guys in behind the scenes, sometimes I reach out to the guests and say, hey, would you be interested in talking about this game? And sometimes the guests reach out to me and they're like, hey, have you talked about this game yet? And it's so funny because you reached out to me and brought up the concept of Tetris. And I had been thinking about doing a solo episode about Tetris for a while, because I was like, for any of you that have never watched my Twitch stream or anything, I stream Tetris every Tuesday night. It's Tetris Tuesday on my Twitch stream. It's the one video game that I'm like, I don't suck at this game. I'm good at Tetris. I love it. I'll never, ever get tired of playing Tetris. But I was like, how the fuck are we going to do a podcast where all we talk about is Tetris? And so if this episode falls off the rails, maybe this will be our Jump the Shark episode of Remember the Game. Maybe this will be the one. But I don't think it will, because I'm so passionate about this game. And I know you are quite the Tetris fan yourself.
I loved it. Again, this is just one of those games where I could just, there have definitely been periods of time where all I've done for 2 weeks straight is play Tetris.
Yeah,
it's
man.
It's a game that I love, but also I've done so many, I reached out to you to do an episode about this because I've done so many deep dives on the history of this game because it's fascinating.
It really, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to take you off. Go ahead.
It was originally programmed. The dude's name, Alexei Pajitnov, or something like that. I think it's Alexei Pajitnov. And when he started making this game, it was basically, first it was a very simple puzzle game. He's like, okay, I have 5 pieces here. How do they fit together? And then he did it, and it was done. And he realized that there was no replay value to that whatsoever. So he added a scrolling mechanic, and then that's when he added the 5 thing. As soon as you get a row across, then that is how you could get rid of a row. And then that's how he realized this is maybe the most addictive video game that's ever been made.
Yeah, it's so weird, because I'm if there's one game in the history of the podcast that we don't have to explain what the game is to anybody, It's Tetris. Everybody has played or seen Tetris. And to me, when you really boil it all down, the most genius thing about the game of Tetris is that I don't, as long as you can see and you can move your fingers, you can in seconds understand how to play Tetris. I'm not saying you'll be good at it, but you can understand how to play it. And it's like, it's the most perfect, simple video game ever designed. I would go
as far to say that I think this might be, like, as far as just gameplay mechanics, this might be the best game of all time.
I was literally just going to say, like, I truthfully feel that Tetris, in its most core, we're not talking about all the crazy spin-offs and all the wild things you can do. We'll get into some of those. But
did you ever play Mickey's Tetris?
No.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
I got to be honest, I hate Mickey. I don't know if maybe that's just, I don't like Mickey. Creeps me out. Fucking little weirdo. I like South Park Mickey, where he's like a piece of shit, and that's how I like my Mickey.
He's a piece of shit, and he's like, "Have you fucked a bat?"
Yeah, that's how I like my Mickey. But no, I in its core, basic, tweaked form, I think Tetris is the perfect video game. I legit.
Really is.
It like there's literally there is not a criticism to be thrown at it. There's not one criticism you could throw at Tetris. Like,
well, because it's like, it's not one of those games, like, I can't think of a single thing you would be able to criticize about it. Like,
no.
It's just a pure, like, you're a big Breaking Bad fan, right?
Yeah, I love Breaking Bad.
Tetris is that 99% pure methamphetamine. It is the blue meth.
Yeah, it is.
Because, like, every other game, it's like, I love this game, but, like, does this story element really work with this? And, like, what are the themes here? Tetris is like, no, just puzzle game. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, and again, such an interesting, like, the dude who was making it, the dude who made it, he actually never owned this game until, like, the mid-90s.
Dude, yeah.
He made it. He was working for the Soviet Union, and so the Soviet Union owned this game. This dude did not make a dime off of it when it was the biggest video game in the world.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
He got totally fucked off. I'm just like, yeah, he got completely fucked over on this game. Like, he should be a trillionaire. Like,
well, and so many people have made money off of this game. And, like, he actually does have a business now called, like, I think it's called the Tetris Company, where, like, pretty much any time somebody makes a Tetris game, it goes through this guy. And he does make a pretty good money off of it now.
As he should.
But, like, he should have made so much more.
Like, I think, I mean, I don't know how much of an effect Tetris had on, like, Super Mario Brothers or anything like that, or Final Fantasy and stuff, but, like, there can't be a single puzzle game in existence that wasn't at least minutely influenced by Tetris, or influenced by a game that was influenced by Tetris. Like, it's just, it's like, look at some of, like, I'm thinking of a few puzzle games that I really, really like, and I'm thinking of stuff like Dr. Mario. I love Dr. Mario.
Dr. Mario 100% would never have existed without Tetris.
No, I don't know if you've ever played Yoshi. Surprisingly fun puzzle game, but it's
actually, Alexei Pajitnov made Yoshi.
Oh, I didn't know that. But there you go.
Yeah.
It's that standard. I mean, you look at fucking Lumines, which I really love. Clax is a really fun game. All of these puzzle games that basically revolve around a column and shit falling from the top and you trying not to let it fill up. Like Puyo Puyo.
Or Dr. Eggman's Mean
Bean Machine, which is Puyo Puyo. Yeah, like I love Puyo Puyo. Even as far as, like, I bet you Candy Crush and some of those games that are out now have roots from Tetris. Like, it's
100% they do. Like, you don't have, like, Candy Crush is definitely, like, it's more
shitty.
It is the modern Tetris. Like, we all roll our eyes and be like, look at that person playing Candy Crush on their phone. It's like, okay, but that's like games like that are the purest video game experience.
Yeah. And you know what I think I love the most about Tetris of everything is that it's never, like, you can't beat it. You know what I mean? Like, I know there are certain games of certain versions of Tetris where you have to accomplish things and then you technically beat it and stuff like that. But, like, my all-time favorite way to play Tetris is on marathon mode, where it never ends. and it's just you versus the game
see
until
how long you can go.
Yeah, man. I was playing it on my Xbox the other night, Tetris Effect, and I was playing the endless marathon mode. And I think I put up like the 90th highest score in the world on my Xbox the other night, and I played for about an hour and a half, and my screen was empty. I just was like, my eyes were hurting, and it was like 1 a.m., and I was like, I'm going to bed. But I'm like, I could play, it never ends. And what's really awesome about it, at least from my perspective, is that like, I never get bored of it. Like, I can just keep playing it and just keep going. And like, dude, there are some nights where I stream Tetris 99 on Twitch for 3 hours, and then when I get offline, I'm usually pretty high because I get baked while I play Tetris, and and then I will literally just get off Twitch, fire up my Xbox, and keep playing it on Tetris Effect or something. Like, I just I wonder if this is how like really diehard chess players feel about chess, like how they never get tired of playing chess and they just want to keep playing it.
Absolutely. Like, my friend Robin has been like a competitive Tetris player since before Tetris, like competitive Tetris, before like Tetris 99.
Right.
Like, she used to play in like tournaments and stuff. And she actually met Alexei Pajitnov. She's that big of a Tetris nerd.
Oh,
and I remember one time, like, I play Tetris on like a certain app on my phone. And there was like one night where I had posted like the third highest score on this app. Like, it was like, I was feeling pretty good about myself.
Yeah.
And I showed Robin, I'm like, look what I did. And then I heard nothing from her. And like 45 minutes later, I got a text back from her, and she was just like, check again. And then I went to the app. She now had the number 1 and 2 slot on this, and she had pushed my score down.
I love it. Dude, it's just, it's like, I don't mean to compare it to chess, because I'm sure there's like some really cultured people that love chess that are like,
You know what? But like, here's the thing. They're not that dissimilar. Like, anybody who thinks that chess is like high, like, that's like for high-minded people, but Tetris is for idiots, are just like, it's just such an old-fashioned way of thinking. It's like, if chess had not been invented and the first time that it had come through was as a video game, and Tetris was a game that you played manually with your hands, people would be saying the same thing. Like, people would be saying the same thing.
Yeah, you might be right. Tetris carries it, like, because I agree with it, because like I don't consider myself very good, but I'm a pretty big, like, I really like chess. Like, the game fascinates me. I have a sincere, deep admiration for top level chess players because I find the game so fascinating. And I feel like part of the reason, because my dad and I used to play chess against each other all the time when we were little, when I was a kid. But I feel like part of the reason.
My dad was the leader of the chess club when he was a teacher.
I like it. Yeah.
He ran a chess club. And his deal with us was always like, hey, if you can beat me without my queen, I'll buy you lunch. And I never beat him without his queen.
but that's to me, that's the beauty of it. And that's what I like so much about it. And to bring it back to Tetris is that, like, in chess, you have, I know that each side has 16 pieces, but realistically, what is there? The king, queen, bishop, rook, pawn, and knight. So 6 pieces. And in Tetris,
it's thinking about like what piece is going to go where.
Exactly.
To achieve the maximum result.
And in Tetris, there's 7 pieces, but there's 5 different blocks, and then 2 of them, the L and that weird S-looking thing, come in 2 different directions. But there's 5 core shapes, and I can't not adore the way that those pieces fit together. And it's when you play Tetris enough, you hit a point where, like, I don't know how you are, but like, when I used to hate when I could see the next 5 or 6 upcoming pieces. I used to like when I could only see one upcoming piece. I was like, that's traditional Tetris. But as I've grown and played more, I really prefer to be able to see my next 5 or 6, because I get to a point where, like, I know precisely what's coming and how they can fit together before, like, I know how the next 3 pieces will fit together. And I see this spot on my board.
What happens as you get better at the game. Like, when you first saw like 5 or 6 pieces in advance, it would stress you out because you're like, I don't have time to think about that. I have to think about this now. But as you improve at the game, it's like, it's just like chess, not to keep making the comparison. But a great chess player will be thinking 5 or 6 moves ahead.
Exactly.
Whereas,
yeah.
like, if you can see, like, okay, that goes there, that goes there, that goes there, and like you are able to plan. And then the fun thing about the game that doesn't happen in chess is the game then starts to go like, okay, you think you have this down? Okay, quicker, faster.
Yeah. I love it. I fucking love that. And you're right. Like that's precisely how I play Tetris. Is like by the time the piece, like when a piece is coming down from the top of the screen, most of the time, 75% of the time, I already know where it's going. Like I'm not like I'm only looking long enough to make sure I have it in the right direction and in the right column, and then I'm dropping it and I'm looking 3 pieces ahead at like where, okay, so that L is going to fit here perfectly because I can use the 2 pieces in front of it to build where I need to put that L. And you're right, that's exactly what it is with chess too, where you're like 4 moves from now, if he does this, I can do this with the knight. To me, the biggest difference between Tetris and chess, aside from the video game versus non-video game aspect, is that chess, you're up against a second player who's thinking another strategy with you. Whereas like you said, Tetris, for the most part, it's just you versus the computer. And the only challenge is that the computer keeps making it faster. But I also love that because I really feel like my problem solving skills in life and and the way I deal with certain aspects of life, I've improved at them because of how much I play Tetris. Because Tetris is problem solving. Tetris is thinking outside of the box and coming up with strategies and planning ahead and management of time.
Like there's so many times in Tetris where you'll be like, okay, that L will fit there, but I have to shift it over really quick at the last second.
I fucking love it, man. And like, so to get into like the actual video games, like my earliest memories of Tetris, as I'm sure a ton of people listening to this podcast are going to say the same thing, are the Game Boy version.
The Game Boy port, yeah. Because that came with Game Boy, so that's why it's like the highest selling game of all time.
Yeah, those two, Tetris and the original Game Boy, leveled each other up at the same time. I feel like,
dude, but like Nintendo almost didn't even get the rights for the they were so lucky they ended up getting the rights for Tetris, because originally like a dude in the Ukraine, like back when it was just like kind of an underground thing, like Tetris used to be like a thing that like offices would pass around being like, hey, have you played this? It was like an underground video game. And so a dude in Ukraine found it and was like, I'm going to start selling this. And he made a deal with the Soviet Union being like, I'm going to sell this on computers. And then Tengen bought the rights from that dude and then started putting it on consoles. And then the Soviet Union was like, dude, what the fuck? He's like, but we're putting it on consoles. Those are computers, right?
Oh.
And then there was a huge court fight over, like, our video game consoles computers. And then somehow, out of all of this, Nintendo snagged the right for both the handheld and the console rights right out of Tengen's hands. And, like, yeah, so interesting, like how like there were civil wars in the video game industry fought over this while the real Cold War was ending.
That's nuts. But I think that people started to see just how much money there was to be made in this game because everybody could play it, right? And that's to bring it, because like I actually really like the NES version. I did own the Tengen version, and I actually like it better, as most people that played both on the NES do, because it was you could play a 2-player. That was the big difference, was it was 2-player.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Game Boy was the bread and butter. When I was at home with my NES, I was like, sure, Tetris is cool, but I want to play Mario or something. Whereas on the Game Boy, it was the most perfect time kill game of all time. And if you don't remember, and for like some of our younger listeners, maybe you weren't even around back then, like the Game Boy, so like that was the first, it was a portable NES, and the Game Boy sold like fire, and it came with Tetris, at least for a while.
Tetris was a huge part of the marketing strategy for the Game Boy.
Huge.
Because, like, I don't remember who said it, but somebody's like, all right, if we packaged in a Mario game with the Game Boy, then this is going to be a handheld system for little boys. But if we package Tetris in with this is going to be a handheld system for everybody.
Exactly.
And that, like, Tetris is why Nintendo had such a big market share in the handheld world that it did, because like with Tetris, I remember my mom played Tetris.
Yeah, me too. My mom and dad both did.
Anyone who had a Game Boy, your mom played Tetris.
Yeah. And like my mom and my dad did, and my dad in particular. My mom used to play a couple of games, but my dad didn't play any video games. But he would sit down and play a game of Tetris. I remember reading it's like a famous story, and I cannot remember what book I read it in, but it was like an executive from Nintendo or somebody saw like a businessman on a bus playing Tetris, like in like a nice suit, tie, jacket, everything, playing Tetris on a Game Boy. And he was like, we have something like this is going to make us a lot of money. Cause it's exactly what you said. If it's Mario on the Game Boy, sure, it's fun and people like Mario, but it's a like not everyone can pick up Mario and play Mario. Whereas like literally anyone can pick up and play Tetris. And then you take it, you make it the pack-in system or the pack-in game with your portable console. So it's like, not only do you don't even have to be at home to play Tetris. You can keep this Game Boy in your desk drawer at work and play Tetris on your break if you want to, or fucking whatever. And it's just such a, like, I don't know if they realized just what a genius pack-in it was back then. Like, I don't know. I'm sure they had an idea. I can't imagine they knew just how special it was going to be, though.
And don't get me wrong, like, I love games with, like, a really interesting narrative. I love games with characters, with, like, I love, like, storytelling games. They're my favorite type of game. But there's something really, like, convenient about Tetris, where, like, you don't have to get through any of that. You don't have to, like, skip through cutscenes to get to, it's just like, no, you turn it on, Tetris.
Yeah.
Done.
And I love that, dude. I love that. That's one of my favorite, like, to this day, Tetris is and will always be my go-to unwind game. It's the game that I can't play a lot of games when I'm high, but Tetris I can play when I'm just, like, I can barely fucking stand up. I can still play Tetris. It's almost to the point where my body goes autopilot, and all I'm doing is looking at the next few pieces and letting my fingers put them where they're supposed to go. And I love the fact there's absolutely no story, no narrative. I don't have to follow anything. I don't have to listen to it. I can turn it off and just listen to a podcast while I play, or listen to the news.
There was a bit of a story in Mickey's Tetris, though.
Oh, fuck off. Like, sure, I know there's been the odd game where they've added a story, but it doesn't need it. I'm like, just let me play fucking Tetris. And that was always it was always the game I'd go back to on my Game Boy. Like, I bet you the only game on the Game Boy that even came close to the amount of hours I put into Tetris was probably Pokemon Blue. Like, that might be the only one that was even in the ballpark. Because I would play Mario for a little while, and then when I died in Mario on my Game Boy, I would turn it off and put in Tetris. And it was like, if I had 20 minutes to kill, if I was going to poop, anything, I would fucking play Tetris. And it's like, so not only did it propel the Game Boy to the levels that it was at, because everyone was buying it to play Tetris, but I truly feel, I don't think Tetris would have reached the levels of popularity that it did without the Game Boy. I don't know if that's wrong or not, but because I know that people knew it existed, but it did not become as mainstream as it was without the Game Boy. Am I like?
I think it's a little bit of, like, I think it's a bit of a, like, I think it's a bit of a symbiotic relationship between the two of them. Like, Game Boy wouldn't have been as big without Tetris, and Tetris wouldn't have been as big without the Game Boy.
I agree.
It was just kind of this perfect marriage that happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, there was still all of this fight behind the scenes over Tetris before the Game Boy. So it's hard to say.
Like, it just, like, to me, like, when you think, like, the NES would not have been a success without Super Mario Brothers, and, like, Xbox would not have been a success without Halo. I don't know how well the original PlayStation would have done without Final Fantasy VII, and the Game Boy would not have, it would have been, I think it would have worked, but it wouldn't have come anywhere near the level of success that it had without Tetris. And I don't think, and I think that it was also, I think Tetris was already a runaway success, but I feel like the Game Boy iteration of it was like strapping a jetpack to it, and it just exploded. And there are people to this day that probably discovered Tetris because of the Game Boy, and even if they don't play video games today, they probably still occasionally play Tetris because of that Game Boy port. Like,
oh, totally. And I think that, like, I honestly feel like Tetris was popular in the 80s, but if it weren't for the Game Boy, Tetris would be one of those, like, hey, do you remember that game type situations?
Yeah.
Like, remember the good old days when we'd play Tetris, but people still play Tetris.
I wonder.
Tetris is still huge.
Yeah, like, you're right. Like, without that Game Boy port and the mainstream of it, like, I wonder if Tetris would be like Dr. Mario. Like, I love Dr. Mario. But it would have been like Oregon Trail, where it's like, ooh, I remember playing Tetris in school. Yeah.
But it's like, no, Tetris is still, like, the most popular handheld game.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would be willing to bet money that there has been an iteration of Tetris released on every borderline successful console since the NES and the Game Boy. Like, there's some version of Tetris on everything. There has to be.
I would agree, but like at some point, like the success of the PS4 wasn't because of a Tetris port.
No, of course not. But having said that, like, dude, I swear to God, I have a fucking $600 Xbox Series X sitting right over my shoulder right now, and the game I've played the most on it since I bought it is Tetris Effect. Like, it's like, and everyone might be listening like, what the fuck? But I'm like, I just really love Tetris. It's my total mellow. Like, people say they play video games to relax. I say that, and it's so funny because I get so fucking angry at video games sometimes. And then my girlfriend will be like, why do you even play if they make you this angry? And I'm like, because it's how I relax. Fuck off. And I know that I'm not relaxed, but Tetris really is that one. I legitimately feel like playing a game of Tetris is like meditation for me. It's just...
Well, and funny enough, like early on in the development of Tetris, like one of the dudes that was developing the game with Alexei Pajitnov was a psychiatrist who studied the effects of like what the game had on the brain, and it was a lot like it hits the right level of serotonin when you complete that perfect line. Like, you know, that moment when you finally have that long, that just like straight piece, and you know just where you're going to put it,
yeah,
and you put it in, and it just eliminates like half the screen. That's the best. Like, that's drugs. That's absolutely drugs.
It really is. It's euphoric.
But the weird, dark thing about that is the psychiatrist who was studying that, I think it was like in the late 90s, he ended up killing his wife and kids, and then himself.
Way to bring the fucking podcast down, Mark.
I know, right? But it's like a weird dark part of Tetris' history that like one of the dudes that programmed it ended up like doing like the worst thing ever.
I did not know that. I mean, I still love Tetris, but wow, that's kind of...
I mean, yeah, like obviously, like you don't love Tetris less because one dude did like a fucked up thing, but holy shit.
Yeah, that's fucked up. But yeah, it is. It's like you said, it's to me, there's two things in Tetris that really hit, like they just scratch me right where I itch. One is when you complete a Tetris, where you drop that, because if you didn't know, that is what it's called. It's called a Tetris. When you drop that straight line into a line of 4 rows and clear all of them at once, because 4 is the most you can clear at one time. But the other thing that really hits home for me, and anyone that's watched me on Twitch knows this, is that like I've developed a strategy now when I play Tetris. I think the old school strategy is to fill up the screen minus 1 column along the side and then drop those straight lines in there. But when I play, I leave a 2-block column on the side, and for
the square piece.
No, for any piece. And like it's I'm telling you, like it's and I know a lot of pro players actually play a 3-block column on the side.
Oh, I've never played like that. That's an interesting idea.
Because you can keep dropping in, and the longer you play, the more you know which way like pieces will fit into each other. And like I will literally fill my screen up to where I have 1 row at the very top, and the whole screen is a solid block with a 2-brick opening on the one edge. And then it doesn't matter what piece shows up, I'm just crushing them down there and wiping out the entire screen. And it's like there's no feeling more satisfying in video games to me than when I wipe out my screen doing that. And what I really like about it is that like my strategy to playing Tetris has evolved over the years, despite the fact that like aside from the being able to hold a piece in the corner, which I would really like to talk about in a second, and the ability to see 4 or 5 pieces coming instead of 1, the game has stayed exactly the same. I've just changed as a player and changed the way I play. And I love watching the way pro players play, because some of them access like the T-spin mechanic now, where you take that. Do you know what that is? The T-spin?
Oh, how does that work?
So a T-spin is the one, you know, the brick where it's a T. It's like a row of 3 in a row with the middle one sticking out in the middle. Do you know what brick I'm talking about? It literally looks like a T. What's a new mechanic that's been added is that, like, say you leave the 2-brick column, but then you have 1 single layer in there where it's a 3-brick wide column, and then it's 2 again. You drop that T into the hole sideways, and then as you reach that 3-brick column, you spin the T And so then it basically fills in that one extra hole, and it gets you bonus points.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, that's called a T-spin mechanic. It's like it's really become big over the last decade or so because it like multiplies your score and gets you extra points and stuff like that.
I didn't know that there was a name for that.
Yeah, it's the T-spin, and it's become a big part of the game now. And like, I love that people are still finding new strategies and new ways to play it. I can legitimately sit down and watch a pro play Tetris on YouTube for 10 or 15 minutes, and I admire because I can see what they're gonna do a half a dozen moves ahead, and then when they do it, I'm like, when it works out exactly the way you want it to, fuck me, man, it just scratches you right where it's so. There's no feeling in gaming as satisfying as that to me. There's no feeling in gaming as satisfying to that. It's perfect. I love it. Maybe
no, absolutely.
No, there's nothing. I can't think of one.
No, I can't either. Like.
So then I was gonna ask you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know. I was just saying, like, there's nothing that's more satisfying than just nailing like 4 or 5 pieces in a row.
Yeah, I agreed. It's fucking incredible. How do you feel about the hold piece? I don't know when that became part of Tetris, but that's just a regular thing now that you can always hold a piece up there in the corner.
I like the hold piece. The hold piece for me, I always keep like the long straight one in there for when I've really fucked up.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I understand that a lot of people think that it makes it too easy. Think that it's like, but like, I don't know. I kind of like it. And whenever I'm playing a version of Tetris that has it, I'll utilize it.
Me too. I fought it for a very long time because not to sound like a complete and total fucking nerd like I am, but I'm a Tetris traditionalist. Like I grew up with the Game Boy and the NES version, and I was like, I don't like that. Like that breaks the game. That would be like, not to compare to chess again, but I was like, imagine if after all these years they're like, oh, by the way, at any point you can take one piece off the board and save it, and then tag it in whenever you want. You'd be like, what? You can't fucking know. And I fought that forever.
As chess developed, like chess didn't start like. The first version of chess is not the version of chess that we play now. There have been a lot of rules that have been added since then.
Right.
Like you were never, like for example, you were never able to like when chess first was a game, you couldn't do that thing where you switch like your rook and your king.
Yeah, you couldn't castle. Yeah, that's called castling. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
So new rules are added to classic games over time.
Right. And when they added that hold piece, it took me a long time to get on board with it because I have never stopped playing Tetris. But then when they added that, and finally I came around to it, and now when I go back and try to play a version of Tetris without the hold piece, it really fucks me up because I feel like
weird.
Yeah, it like, because I agree with you. Exactly what you said when you were like, some people say it makes the game too easy or it's cheating. That was how I felt when it got introduced, and I was like, well, you're breaking the game. That's not Tetris. But now I'm like,
you're breaking the game because you're just adding like a new level of. You're just adding a new level of strategy.
Exactly. And now I feel like I've completely 180'd on it where I'm like, no, that improves the experience of Tetris. You took like the perfect video game and found a way to make it just a little bit more perfect. Like I really like that. I love that fucking mechanic now. I love it.
Like let's say you have like a long piece in reserve and you use it. You suddenly, like, you can't use it again, and now you have another piece that's in that hold piece, and usually it's a useless piece that you have up there now.
Yeah. Like, my focus, whenever I play Tetris, my number one strategy with Tetris is no holes. Like, do not leave. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if you're building up that column on the side, if you leave a single brick hole somewhere in your column, it's going to fuck you later, and you got to dig it out. And like I am so adamant about that. Like it makes me insane when I leave a hole somewhere, and
especially if it's closer to the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I use the hold piece for. I'm trying to make sure I differentiate between the words hole and hold, so we don't get like a Simpsons Moe describing a garage thing, which like that'll be debate. We could do a whole podcast about that. Is it a car hole or a car hold? Anyway, garage, la-di-da, Mr. Frenchman. But no, so that's primarily actually what I use the hold piece for, is if the next piece that's falling can't go somewhere that will keep my screen perfectly clean and organized, I'll swap out just for the sake of being like, it doesn't fit anywhere I don't want it. Like, I very rarely actually worry about holding the piece I need up there, like you said, with the straight line. I do it, but I primarily utilize that hold piece as a way to just make sure whatever's coming next fits. Because it drives me, it'll ruin a game for me if I start leaving holes in the map or my board. But there you go. That's another way where like that hold piece has changed the way that two Tetris nerds like to play Tetris. Like I fucking, it's the most perfect. I can't. I know I'm just repeating myself, but like I truly adore this fucking video game. I loved it on the NES. I loved it on the Game Boy. Dude, did you ever play Tetris on the Nintendo 64?
I played Mickey's Tetris on the Nintendo 64.
There was a game called fuck you, that fucking Mickey's Tetris. I can't remember what it was called. Tetris World, I think. But it was like I remember my friend Sean had it, and I loved it. I ended up buying it myself. It was just Tetris on the Nintendo 64, but like as you would make lines, they would get banked in the game, and then once you hit certain milestones, you'd unlock like new like maps and shit, like very basic stuff. But I was like, it's the perfect way to just keep me playing Tetris. And the rad thing about what?
But that's exactly it. Like, I love how no matter how many times this game's released, like they'll add little things here and there, but they never take away from what is absolute Tetris.
Yeah. I agree with you. And the other thing about that one on the Tetris on the 64 was that it was the first time I'd been able to play Tetris 4-player, which I thought was so sick. Because like I was used to playing Tetris like with one other person, but being able to play like, dude, the amount of hours, like we put it right up there with Mario Kart and stuff on the 64 for a while, where we would sit around and play Tetris 4-player. And I fucking loved it. And that's where, like, I mean, I played it on my Xbox, I played it on PlayStation, I played it on other Nintendo systems. But that's where, like, to kind of bring it up to like a more modern thing, like Tetris 99 not only has become my definitive Tetris experience, I think it is the best Tetris game ever made. I think Tetris 99 is. Because
you're a huge I've never been able to get into Tetris 99 just because I lose so quickly.
But that's, to me, that's the great part about, because I was losing a ton first too, but like I feel like my Tetris, and I have been playing Tetris for over 30 years, and I feel like my Tetris game quadrupled as far as how good I was at it as I put more hours into Tetris 99. Because if you haven't played it, it's a free game on the Nintendo Switch, and you play it against 98 other players at once. And it's lightning fast because your garbage is going to other people, other people's garbage is coming to you, and you got to be the last person standing. And that's what helped me develop that 2-column strategy, because I can clear my entire screen and just hammer another player. And I can, and the thing that really...
Oh, that's so smart.
Right, because it's not waiting for lines. I can just keep dropping 1-line combo, 2-line combo, 1-line combo, 2-line combo. And then each of those fucking things are just going to the same player, and it's just bumping it up and up and up. As opposed to hitting him with one Tetris screen, I'm hitting him with 15, 16, 17 lines of garbage by making these combos.
And that's another way that a new level of strategy has been brought to a very simple game.
Yeah, like, exactly.
That's not like... That strategy works okay if you're playing by yourself, but like when you're playing competitively in something like Tetris 99, it works so much better. So like all of these new versions of Tetris, they never take away from the game. They just add new ways in which the game can be played, and that's why it's so brilliant.
Yeah, it's I love it. And yeah, like I would recommend Tetris 99 to everybody. And if you think, well, I always lose, it's too hard, I'm like, keep playing because you will get better. I promise. The pressure of it, because that's what I was going to say is like, not to suck my own dick, because I think I'm quite self-deprecating on this podcast, but like I'm good at Tetris, and I struggle to find somebody to play it with. Shout out to my pal Dave if he's listening to this. This is just a fun little side story. Back when I was a retro game collector, I had the Tengen version where you could play a 2-player on the NES, and a bunch of my friends were at my house one night, and we were all playing video games and stuff. And I remember saying, I'll buy a steak dinner for any of you that can beat me at this game. Because I was like, I know it's the one that I won't lose at. And it took him a couple of tries. And my buddy Dave doesn't even play that many video games, but he beat me at Tetris. And he to this day won't let me forget it. And I feel like Nick and Rick Bruiser in Super Punch-Out, where one is undefeated and one has one loss, and that one loss haunts him. And my one big Tetris loss is that game to my friend Dave. And I never did buy him that steak dinner because he can fist himself. I'm not paying for that because I'm so angry. I think he cheated somehow, and I don't know how. But so there you go, Dave. You got your props. But normally I don't play. I have a hard time playing Tetris against other people because like I don't. It's hard to find a match against someone that is on your level when you're good. Not to sound arrogant, but with Tetris 99, every game is super competitive. It's the same thing I feel about Mario Kart 8. That's the reason Mario Kart 8 is one of my favorite video games ever, because I love playing Mario Kart, and when I play it online, I can always find a match against people that are equal or better than me. And it's the same thing with Tetris 99, and it will make you such a better player because there's only so good you're going to play when you just play by yourself. I get that you can go for your high scores and stuff like that, but at some point you will cap on how good that you can get playing it that way. You need to play against other people. And I feel like I don't play a lot of games online, but I feel like the world of online video games, like, again, it's, to me, that's another way. There's literally not one aspect of gaming where Tetris doesn't work. Like, you can plug it into online and it works fucking perfectly. Like, it works like flawlessly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just...
And it's why I think it might be like it is the Walter White 99% blue meth.
Oh, yeah, and to get back to that point, not only is it the 99% blue meth because it's pure and perfect, but because it's addictive as fuck. Addictive as absolutely. Fuck. If you enjoy Tetris, you start playing it. Everyone's probably experienced this. You play Tetris and you're like, all right, one more. Okay, one more. Because it's so calming, and it's just.
I remember after my last big breakup, like the only thing I did is I went to work, then I came home, I played Tetris. Then I'd go to work, come home, play Tetris.
Yeah.
And that's when, like, because again, like, it is just that perfect, like, it is that like nice little Zen garden you build in your brain.
That's it. Like, I know some people use like The Sims or Animal Crossing or any of those, Stardew Valley, like those types of games. Like, my game like that is Tetris. It doesn't matter how bad a day. It's what I do. Like, if I'm having a bad day or if I'm depressed or angry or whatever, I can just fire up Tetris and it just calms me down because I just space out. And I love the fact that I can listen to the game, or I can listen to a podcast, or I can put on The Simpsons or whatever while I'm playing. And it's just, it literally is, it's literally meditation to me. It's fucking perfect.
That said, I've never gotten sick of the song. I've never gotten sick of the Tetris theme song.
Okay, so no, I haven't either, but I want to give another shout out then. Have you ever tried Tetris Effect? Tetris Effect Connected?
No.
Bah, Mark, I'm telling you, my buddy Chris recently got me hooked on it. Other people in the community have been telling me to play it. I know it's on Game Pass on Xbox, but I also know it's on PlayStation. It's not that expensive. It's just Tetris.
It's on PlayStation?
I'm sure it is, yeah. It's Tetris, but like, it is such a trippy experience, and the music in it is some of the best music I've ever heard in a video game. And all you do is play Tetris, and you just go from level to level, and the beats to the music sometimes beat while you rotate your Tetris pieces, but they're also beating on their own, and they find a way to make it flow in perfectly.
Oh, I'm really into that. Like, I'm really into that idea.
I cannot, and this doesn't just go to Mark, this goes to everybody. I cannot recommend Tetris Effect enough. It's so fucking good. It's look it up. It's on all the major consoles now. The sound, like, play it with headphones on. That's what I'll do at night sometimes when I can't sleep, is I'll put my headphones on, I turn every light in the house off, I get baked as fuck, and I just space out for an hour playing this game, listening to the music. And it's the most, it's I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it's
But that's
perfect.
That sounds like my because like right now I'm really like I'm running out of games to play for my PS5, and because I've told my family I'm not buying myself any more video games. Here are the video games I want for Christmas. You know, go do. So now I can't go out. I've put myself in a position where I can't go out and buy games.
Yeah.
And for the next few weeks at least, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but this is, as we're recording this, it's a few weeks before Christmas.
Yeah.
So now I'm like looking, and I've been like, okay, I'm sold. That's what I'm playing next.
Yeah, man. I 12 out of 10. I recommend it. It's fucking great.
Tetris Effect.
Tetris Effect. Yeah, so good.
Oh man, we've actually gotten a lot out of this.
Dude, I sure hope that you guys enjoyed this podcast, because like I know that some of you talk about like the passion that me and the guests have for our games, and that's why you enjoy the show. I might be more passionate about Tetris than I am about Mario. Like, I love this series so much. And I mean, before we score this thing and wrap it up, I just want to like my favorite iterations of Tetris are probably the original Game Boy version. I'll never get tired of that. That Nintendo 64 one that I can't remember the name of that I fucking love. I remember when I first got a Nintendo DS, they released like Tetris DS. I don't know if you remember it, but it had like some Mario themes and stuff in it, but it was just Tetris. And I thought that was fucking awesome. Tetris Effect has become my second favorite Tetris of all time after Tetris 99, which I think is the most perfect version of Tetris that'll ever exist, is Tetris 99.
Is Tetris 99 just Nintendo?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I'm floored by, because like I would pay full price to have that on other systems too. Like I just think it's perfect. So is there an iteration or two of the game that you want to plug before we score this thing? Is there anything else?
I feel like you know what? Did you ever play Tetris 2?
Tetris? No, I did not. On the NES? No, I didn't.
Now, this game has a special place in my heart, not because I played it. I've actually like played it once, and it's fine. There's like bombs and stuff. But why I remember Tetris 2 so much is because when we were kids, like our parents taped us like some of the Christmas shit that was coming on TV. Like we have like Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman on there. But like we still have these tapes, and we love watching them just because they still have commercials from the 90s. And the one that kept coming up was one for Tetris 2. And they made it look like this outrageous, oh my God, you've got to get this game. When it's Tetris.
Right.
But there's bombs in it.
I do remember, I don't think I ever played it, but I do remember seeing like the box, and I remember seeing it at the movie store and stuff like that. And I even as a child who was like so susceptible to just buying every video game and wanting to play everything, I remember seeing Tetris 2 and being like, you're just trying to get people to buy Tetris again. Like you were just like, yo.
And that's really what it was.
Right.
Because Tetris 2, nobody plays Tetris 2 anymore. People still play the pure version because Tetris 2 didn't really add much to the formula. Exactly.
They were just like, yo, this is like one of the best-selling video games ever. How do we sell it again? Like without a new system. That's all that fucking is. So I would like to play it a bit. I think I have it on my NES. I would like to try it eventually. Just to see. But no, yeah, I don't want any gimmicks. I don't want bombs or any of this weird items or anything like that. I've grown to accept the hold piece. That's all I need. I don't want anything else in my fucking Tetris. Like, I can't think of another change I would make to it. Like, that's it. That's enough.
But here's the thing. You might have said that a year ago before playing Tetris 99.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh, but I mean,
they'll always come up with something that'll be like, oh, I never thought of that, but that makes the game more interesting without compromising the integrity of the game.
Yeah, you're right. It's a very like it's a ridiculously fine line with me to walk with Tetris. Like if you're gonna tweak my game, you would better like the hold piece made it better. Tetris 99 and the battle royale format made it better. Tetris Effect with the way that it plays with the music and stuff like that made it better. But you're right. So you're right. Something will come along eventually to get me, but I'm like, if you're gonna fuck with my ultimate treasure of Tetris, you'd better do something special with it. You know what I mean? If you're just doing it to add a bomb or something like that, I'm like, I'll fucking sue you. Do not fuck with my game. Don't fuck with Tetris. Ah, that felt good. You want to score it? You got any other thoughts, or we're scoring this thing and getting out of here?
You can't score this game. It gets infinity out of infinity.
Yeah, you know what? I've been thinking about this since you and I agreed to talk Tetris, and I don't know when this episode will go live either. As you and I are recording this, I have 127 episodes that have been released. So this episode will probably be released in and around episode 130, and for the first time since episode 1 in Super Mario World, and I swore I would never do this. I'm breaking my 10 out of 10 rule and giving Tetris a perfect score. And I swore I would never do that. But I also never thought we would do an episode of the show about Tetris. Because I was like, who the fuck wants to listen to a 45-minute discussion about fucking Tetris? But we did it.
I'll be honest, I didn't know how this was going to go either. I was like, this could be rough, but here we are. It's like, we have a lot to say about Tetris.
Yeah, man. Listen, everybody listening to this, I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you didn't see this episode. I guess if you did see that this episode was about Tetris and skipped over it because you're like, that sounds boring, I guess you won't even hear me saying this, so it doesn't matter. But if you did give us a chance and listen to it, I hope you enjoyed this. I could talk Tetris for fucking days. I love it. Play it. I'm not even gonna say if you've never played it. You have played it. Play it again. Go back and play it, and you'll remember just why it's such a special video game. And you guys heard it right here. It is the only game in the history of Remember the Game, aside from Super Mario World, to get a perfect 10 out of 10 score. And I don't know if I'll ever do that again. But I would feel like I'm lying to you guys and myself if I did not give this game a perfect score, because it is perfect. It literally is more perfect than Mario. You're right, Mark. Like, it should get like an 11 out of 10 because it's the most perfect video game ever made, bar none.
I would say, like, there's no numbers you can put to it to score it. It's just pure and perfect. It's, yeah.
I love it. Fucking A. Good call, buddy. I can't believe we made it through Tetris. That fucking worked. Good job. Thank you so much for doing this.
Beauty, thanks for having me.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode, Mark. Thank you so much for giving me a call and talking a little Tetris, and every single one of you listening to the show right now. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the way we've grown over 2020, and I've got big goals for 2021. I used to joke that someday we'd be the biggest retro gaming podcast in the world. I really do feel like we're on our way there now, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it as a fucking team, because we are the hot dogs. We are the weed in the Remember the Game garden. Fuck, that would have been so dope if I hadn't fucked it up. We are the weed in the retro gaming podcast garden, but I fucked it up. But anyway, we are weeds. We're all hot dogs together. I fucking can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you listening. If you enjoy what I do, if you like my podcast, if you like listening to me make an ass of myself several times a week, consider supporting us on Patreon. And I mean it, you guys. It's $2 a month. It helps me out so much. You get extra podcasts. It's win-win-win. It's just wins all around. So please consider patreon.com/rememberthegame. I also have a P.O. box. You can find the address at rememberthegamepodcast.com. Send me a postcard or a letter or something, and I'll send you a postcard back, and we'll be best friends, and it'll be awesome. Check me out on Twitch. I'm there Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday nights from 8 to 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Actually, every Tuesday, I stream Tetris 99 while I get high, and the quality of the game gradually goes down. I'm actually pretty good at it, though. Like, it's actually not... It's like, if ever there was a Twitch stream where I'd say, come watch, because I don't suck, it's Tetris. The rest of the games I'm pretty bad at, but Tetris I don't suck at. It's a lot of fun. Look for Remember the Game over on Twitch. Not Remember the Game. Just give me a follow, completely free. It'll tell you when I'm online. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, that'll do it, you guys. I'll be back on Friday with Game Patch, or Monday if you're on the free feeds. I'll be back on Sunday with episode 41 of Expansion Pass, our Patreon exclusive show, which is the Blankies, the awards show where we name the game of the year and all that fun stuff. And I'll be back next week with episode 130 fucking one of Remember the Game. Thank you guys for listening. You guys are the best. I'll talk to you all again soon. Cheers. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I simply could not produce all these podcasts and videos and Twitching and all the other crap that I do without your support. So I would like to take a moment to thank every single person that has supported us at patreon.com/rememberthegame. And this list is getting longer and longer and longer, which I'm more and more and more grateful for. I will happily record a 10-minute thank you message every week if we get that many Patreons. So with that said, a gigantic thank you to Francesco Sabiti, Derek Jane, Mark Carls, Parzival, Mike Cummings, Kelly, Aaron Lawson, Adam Anderson, Adam Beasley, Adam Oshirello, Alan C., Alex Martinez, Amy Gillen, Andre, Andrew Wright, Andy Baker, April Zane, Arpad Bodos, Ashley Cronenbitter, Badar Barhumi, Ben Booya, Ben Busha, Ben Drinkin, Bradley McCue, Brandon O'Brien, Brian McKay, Brian Medeiros, Brian Ransom, Bullfrog, Charlie M., Chris Campbell, Chris Fleury, Chris Wilson, Christopher Russell, Chuck Schlarp, Corey, Craig Rutt, Crash Bandicoot It, Chris Knife 007, Dan T, Dana Wutchrow, Danny Vega, Dario Oman, Dave L, Dave McGee, Dave Thompson, David Ray, David Schnatterer, Desert Tortoise, Divalk, Du Howe, Dominic S. Thompson, Doug Dorn, Dylan, Eric Cannard, Evan Refuse, Fraser Burns, Freddie Bovenkirk, Gary C, Geek Life Radio, Grant Robertson, Grimpy, Andre SJA Flash, James Anderson, James Clark, Jared, Jason Adams, Jason Cortez, Jay Clutch, Jeff Johnson from Game On GNT, Jeffrey Mathis, Jer Bear, Joe Buck, Joe Gillespie, Joe Mack, John Doskis, John Quack, Jordan, Josh Morgan, Josh from the Press Start to Join podcast, Kate Roberts, Casey Rarick, Keegs, Kevin Chicholo, Kevin Donlin, Kevin Hufford, CryptoVox, Kyle Paul, Lane Orr, Leon Knapskog, Les Winan, Luca, Mackenzie Wheeler, Mad Shibs, Makeshift Money, Mark Jones, Mark McHugh, Mark 209, Martin Greenwood, Matt McLean, Matthew Davis, Michael Mathis, Michael Haig, Mike Mallowaney, Miklos Blackshaw, Miles from BringBackRetro.com, Morgan, MPG in Buffalo, Mr. Satan, Mr. Impressive, Mr. Nick, Wolverine Films, Nathan Combs, Nathan Tremblay, Nathan W, Nick Sills, No One Cares, Pat Duddy, PB McFadden, Potato Bob Guy, Raging Demon, Retro Ghosty Ghost, Rex, Robert Fuchsia, Robert L, Rome 21, Ryan Bayshore, Ryan Kinchin, Ryan Yeager, Scott Brooks, Scott V, Sean Razine, Sharonic, Slick Rick, Starro Probin, Stupid Monkey, Super Mary Ho, That One Kid Nick, The Giraffe, The T-Word, They Call Me Badger, Thomas D. Reynolds, Tim L, Tim Riel, Todd, Tom, Tony Cherichetti, Travis, Trevor Hillier, Tyler, Very Cool Dude, Vincent L, Vladstein, Whiteborough, Wyman Brooks, X-Water, Yamcha, and Zane Donovan. Thank you all so much. You guys are the best, and I will talk to you again soon. Cheers.